Welcome, gamers, to this is going to be the last of the of this particular early access series of GALACTIC 4 Supernova. So I'm going to be I'm wanting to finish this series off. I've been sort of desperate trying to sort of get it finished and leave myself in a bit of a gap between now and the release of the game in just a few days' time, where I want to start a new series at that point. So I normally would like to leave about a week at least, but I've only got days now because I screwed up. I screwed up badly with my last video. I actually recorded the whole lot, plus a whole lot of other videos actually, without any audio. I'm looking now at my levels on my microphone and can see, yes, the microphone is now working for this particular one. So I'm going to be okay with this particular video. But what I wanted to do was go through. Well, I'm going to go through basically the recording, but there's just the high points. It'll probably take 3 or 4 minutes, I would guess. And if you know me at all, guys, then you'll know that means probably about 8 or 9 minutes. Just double the time. Any time factor I give you, just double it, because I do tend to waffle on a bit. But anyway, I'll be just wanting to succinctly go through what actually happened to how we sort of got to what I consider a victory. And I'll do a summary of that victory as well at the end of that. But also what I want to do is I want to go, so this won't be a very long video, I don't think, but I do want to go through how we might approach the launch and how we play the launch. One of the things I've had troubles with, I think, doing the recordings is that I'm not getting into the actual action with the other empires fast enough. And I would love to just find a way where I can actually start off with the aggression fairly high and the tensions high, but I would love it if there was a way to actually have like a starting kit of ships, like invasion ships or siege, even just siege ships, like sort of 3 siege ships, a handful of frigates, maybe a battle cruiser or something like this, just to have like a collection where everyone starts off with those at the start, and then the tensions are high. That would be fairly interesting, because it would then mean that you start off where you are pretty much in combat. Even starting off in a state of war would be interesting, if you sort of knew the other factions around you. It would just be a nice way to actually have a different way of starting the game. And I'm just thinking from my own recording, for when I'm doing series, it would be a fun way to start a series. But because at the moment there's a build-up, like invariably there's the exploration phase, the expansion phase, and before you finally get to the extermination phase. But it would be nice to be able to at least start off with an ability to try to do something in that phase, in the early phase. But I know that maybe the balance would be too difficult to do that. Anyway, just a thought there. But I will actually go through some options at the end of this, how we might approach the launch, and play a game that will give us a bit more action at the start. So we'll see how we go. Anyway, let me go through. One thing I did actually talk about was just how there's version after version now coming of the game as it gets closer to launch. So there's lots of changes happening all the time. The boffins at Stardock are sort of working hard to sort of get the game in shape, and they're doing a great job of that. So many different little changes. There's a few little things that I've been reading about that people have been asking questions about, not of my videos, but just of the game itself. One thing that we noticed actually a few episodes back was that there was a ship that was actually making its way across to settle a planet, and a group of pirates actually were right next to it. They could have wiped out that colony ship, but they didn't, and I wondered why. And actually, I've just read that somebody else had asked a similar question about the game that they were playing, and Frog Boy or Brad Riddell, the CEO of Stardock, actually had just answered it today, and had sort of said, they've now put in a random, it's almost like a dice roll to see whether pirates will bother attacking or not. And they may change it again in the future, but I found that was interesting. So that's actually one thing where the pirates won't always attack. So we were just lucky in that instance. We happened to, or the coin flip or whatever it was, we just happened to be left alone. I still wish there was some way, even if they did leave you alone, that they gave you a little bit of notice to say, we don't deem you worthwhile at this point in time, or something like that. It would just be nice to sort of know that that's what's happened. But anyway, that was one aspect that actually happened. Other changes that have come in, there's been apparently some changes with way that the citizens work, but I haven't really had a deep dive into that just yet. But we'll see how those sort of things actually do play on, I guess, when we play the release version of the game. There is a live stream that DasTactic will be doing at the time of the launch. Now, I always get my dates confused because the dates for me are different to the dates for example, Europe or for America. And so I'm usually a day out because here in Australia we're on the other side of the world, so our days start a little bit earlier. So I don't want to say what day the game is launching. Look it up if you are sort of wanting to sort of find it. But there will be an actual launch stream done by DasTactic. If it's at a time that I can actually go and watch it, I'll definitely be wanting to watch that. And just to sort of see what the comments are that people are coming back with. So anyway, that's I thought I'd just mention that that's actually coming. Anyway, let me just get my recording back, and I can then sort of just go through the what happened, and I'll just do it as quickly as I possibly can. In a nutshell, in this episode, we're looking at Serene Homeworld, which is this homeworld in through here. We've got a fleet of just combat ships. They're not able to actually sort of invade the planet itself. And so we wanted to get some siege ships across and also an invasion ship across to sort of to besiege the actual planet itself. So at this point in time, we are building siege ships. We are researching planetary invasion at the top there to try to get everything sort of actually up and running. Sorry, this is actually a recording, so you're sort of seeing the recording aspect to it as well. But so Serene Homeworld is really our main target at this point in time. If we can defeat this, then I consider that a victory, and that's what we're aiming for in this particular episode. I've got a horrible feeling I'm going to have to be using my pause and unpause with my recordings a bit. Anyway, we fight a starbase. We do a lot of damage to ourselves. Just go forward through this one through here. So eventually sort of make it through where we end up with very, very injured fleet for ourselves. We do destroy the infrastructure, and at that point we then just sort of move the fleets together and then sort of move them out of the way. Just back into here just for healing. That fleet is then given an order to essentially just go and heal up. So there's actually a repair function. So they then repair. There's a turn later. And then we just start to get and pick up our siege ships. So here comes the first of the siege ships to head across towards Serene Home. So we need a lot of them to actually be able to bring the planet down. We saw there just in the overlay, it did say about 191 protection that the planet's actually currently got. We finally get planetary invasion, and then that gives us our transport ship. And so the transport ship in this case is the class is called a conveyor. And so we do start to build these up as well, just in case we need to get even more firepower into the fight. So the siege ships are great for plugging away at something, but they don't give you a lot of power, whereas the actual invasion ships with a citizen on board will actually do a lot more damage overall. So we start to get those ready. We get our siege ship next to it. There's only one siege ship. It's only got 12 conquest ratings against 191 planetary defenses. It needs to be 10%, so we need 2 ships at least to be able to start to do this particular attack. Now we have more on the way, so more is now sort of coming back in. We're still waiting on the main fleet to actually heal up, but these are now coming back in. So we're just going to start to get more and more ships into this invasion fleet. We do have to have protection though for it nearby. So we combine the 2 ships. We've now got 2 ships, which will give us 24 combat ability against the 191. So we now have the minimum to be able to then start the invasion. So we're going to do that one 7 months before we can actually then take on the planet. We are going to need to get some protection in there because in the meantime they'll be trying to build ships to fight these particular ships. And we've got them being built all over the place. So here's now we've got 4 in there now. Now here comes a 5th, and so we've now really got a very, very powerful siege fleet, which we can then sort of start to use. And you can see there, we've now, with all of these ships, we can now sort of attack with 60 conquest ratings against the 119 that are left. So 3 more months, and then we're going to actually get victory. Now, at the end of the turn, they then build another one of these areas that they can then sort of start to build ships in. So we need to now bring our wounded fleet back in to help protect the rest of the fleet. So even though it's injured, it's too injured to really take on that starbase again, or the construction yard. So I put in with the other fleet, the rest of the fleet, just so that we can actually protect them if there is a fight. So that's sort of where we are now, where we've got like a fairly big fleet of siege ships along with our combat ships. And then we get to the point where really it's the last turn, so we end the turn, and there we go. We basically get the first invasion. So not every planet we'll find is empty. We've known that, blah blah blah. So we end up with basically the invasion is now successful, which is sort of where I consider the game, like we're now at a point where we're so powerful that you know, we're not going to be able to really be stopped. There's the rebels, the liberators have been destroyed, so they're now ended, and we now control that particular world. It doesn't show it yet on the actual map itself, but we do get control of Serene Homeworld, which is a great little another great planet for us to actually have. So having those rebellions is actually quite helpful in the long term, because it gives you some amazing planets and things. So we end up with the rebels then come under our control. We just basically put another governor in, assign a governor to it, and away we go. So I just pick whichever governor I sort of think is going to work best on that particular planet, and that's pretty much game over at that point. So what I think I'll do is I'll now just go back and I'll just go through the victory screen just so you can sort of see what that looks like. I think I've got that where I can load that in from an actual game and talk about it. And so then we actually end up with essentially our empire. This is now the new look to our empire, with a lot of different sort of planets all congested fairly nicely. We're very, very strong. And so if we just go down to the actual data bank and have a look at the final aspects of this. In fact, before we do that, we'll see the Drengen are dropping off very, very quickly here, to the point where we're this colour here. We're the Eleva. The Eleva is the group that we actually are, and so we are pretty much at top of like a faction power. The Drengens have been knocked backwards a fair bit. To find out why, that's very easy. We can just go straight across to diplomacy. And we can then just go to the diplomacy graph and see where everyone actually is, and we can just do show all. Okay, so we can see from this one that there's two wars going on with the Drengen, both with the Taurians and also with the Altarian Republic. Now, eventually I'd be wanting to take on the Altarians more so than the Drengens, but the Drengens have actually taken now they've taken a hit from one or each of these two different factions. It looks like, in fact, the Yor aren't at war with them. But the Drengen certainly have got a bit of a problem there with the wars that they actually have. So yeah, it makes it sort of fairly interesting to see what's going on there. Anyway, we'll just click on done through that side. So the Drengen are in trouble. So they're actually coming backwards. Just go back and whoops, click on the data bank. I must say, I really like when games actually do expose this information. I know that a lot of games try to hide this from you. It is hidden from you until you come across the different factions, but this has worked out very, very well. There's the Liberators that sort of arrived and then got destroyed, basically, in that last turn. So, but you can see through here, we actually end up at top of the faction power, but by a fair amount actually at this stage. So we can start to just keep on rolling forward now. I think I need to play at a higher difficulty level as well. That's one thing. I sort of don't want to do it in one sense just so I can sort of keep the pacing going, but in one sense I think a higher difficulty would give more drama to what we're actually doing. Economic power, back in through here, we've just hit the lead there with the Altarians sort of very, very close to where we are. The Drengens again taking damage. Military power, Drengens have dropped a lot. We're just sort of middling along, and we're doing okay. Population-wise, we've just hit the lead, taking over that rebel planet. Influence-wise, we have just hit the lead there again as well. Manufacturing, we're just equal, I think, to the, or very, very close. I think it's the Altarians, yeah. The Altarians would really be our next big target, I think. Research-wise, we're up there with everyone else as well. Approval, we are in the middle of the road, I think. That's us. Yeah, we're in the middle of the road for that one there. Treasury, Again, we're not doing as well as... That's not the yaw, is it? No, that's not the yaw. Is that the Liberator? Oh, the Liberator's got a whole lot of cash at the start there, so they don't really count. But they did get a cash injection to be able to build up very quickly if they needed to. So that's interesting to see that one. I think we are still, we're still the leader of that, even with that. And then Prestige as well. There we are. So we're winning basically on all counts at this point in time, and really not going to go backwards with the planets that we actually have. It really is just now a matter of moving forward and dominating. So I think that this is a good time to actually leave this particular game, this particular series, just so we can get ready and give ourselves a bit of a gap before the next series. Reports, I don't know what this will then show. Relations, it's not really going to tell us much there. It's interesting. And then the Altarans, I guess the Geodrengans. Yeah, interesting. Anyway, we can sort of see all the different stuff there. I won't go through all of the perspectives that we actually have through there. The stats, most credits. We're 7th in the actual credits that we generate. First in the population. Planets colonised, we're actually coming 2nd. Does Drengan sort of show? Oh wow, look at the credits that they actually have. Yours 5th, Taurians 3rd. Altarians, it must be the Liberators, of course. Yeah, we wiped them out. So, but anyway, I love this. I love that they've got so much detail in the actual game itself. It's just awesome. And then, of course, the different worlds that we actually generated and what they do. But that's okay. I think we'll just leave it there. Actually, I wonder if this was where we should have the because there's no screen at the moment. I think there will be one coming, but there's no screen about the actual empire your own empire. And it's just it should be somewhere like it would work in here as well, like with this data bank. We can sort of read about your own empire because there's nowhere in the game that actually does sort of show that one. Only the closest is actually when you go into diplomacy and start to like it's almost like these have got their own detail over through here, but we don't actually have it for our own faction, which is funny. I do hope that they do add that one in fairly early. I don't know if it'll be there for launch, but I hope it will be there soon after. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave that part of it here, and we're just going to... So that's the end of the series, but now let's have a bit of a talk about how we might approach the coming series and how we sort of do that one. One thing I really did enjoy, I've got to say... well, let's just go right back to the start. We'll just go back to the main menu and do the start of the actual game itself. Now, if you go into a new game in Gal Civ 4 and without sort of choose, if you just go to the next screen, no matter who you've got chosen, if you then choose, oh, hang on, if I just go back, where is it? If I just go next. If I reset defaults, if you do that one, I don't know if I like this or not, but if you reset defaults, it basically puts the game right back to the defaults. If I go back, I'm now playing as the humans. So it resets everything, not just the galaxy. I actually think I'd prefer to keep whatever you've selected to stay, and it's only be the galaxy settings that change. But one thing I like to do with this is because when you actually do go and start a game, it resets all of this, but it also then resets the enemies that you're going to be facing. But what I'm thinking of doing, this is the screen that I'm thinking we'll have to sort of then work on. But before we do that, we do need to sort of set ourselves up with another faction. I am really considering playing as my old favourites, the Korath clan, and the thing I like. It's funny because I thought that they had a different setting. I thought that they've got exterminators, so transport ships are replaced with planet-killing spore ships, and I don't know if I like that. So I think I would actually change that one slightly. They're also genocidal, so massive damage in conquering planets due to not caring in the least about collateral damage. Can convert other species unfortunate enough to end up on their planets into living neural network batteries. So I think I would build my own faction, but I would actually end up going with a couple of other little things. If we just go back into custom civilization, there's some really cool abilities. If we go to the abilities screen, so I'm thinking of either doing this randomly or sort of semi-randomly, but there's one that I really want to try out, and it's right down near the bottom, this Raiders one. So you get minus 50% manufacturing, minus 50% income on all worlds. You gain plus 100 credits and plus 20 manufacturing for winning battles. You gain 500 credits and 200 manufacturing for conquering planets. It would force you into being an absolute beast in conquering because you've got so many other negatives. And you do start with the armed shuttles tech in through here. I don't even know if that exists, actually. Armed shuttles tech. I think that's should be planetary invasion. I don't think that that's the one. But anyway, Raiders looks really, really interesting. So I'm thinking of playing either something like that, where we actually have one of the abilities is going to be Raiders, and then we maybe pick a random, or we give ourselves a few different roles to sort of see how we go. Like Raiders wouldn't work well, I don't think, with the spore killers, the transport ships with spore killers. I'm thinking we would end up with something. I don't know. There's so many other ones that would actually work with it, though. Unrelenting, plus 10 control. Planets generate plus 1 more influence per month. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot there. We could maybe sort of just randomly roll a few of them, or even slavers. Gain the ability to enslave your citizens, reducing their approval. Something really, really evil. I think would actually be fairly interesting to sort of play. But anyway, that's where I'm sort of thinking in terms of the actual faction. I'll just go back up. And I'll just keep them selected, and we'll just go now to the actual setup for the actual game itself. And I'm sort of was thinking there's a way to test things, and I do want to do a bit of testing because this is most likely going to change again when the game does actually hit. And so I'm thinking of either going with a small or with a tiny galaxy size. Probably just one sector. So we go back to the Gal Civ 2-3 era, where we're just playing in basically a single map rather than actually having the different sectors. I love the idea of the sectors. Or maybe we go with binary. Let's just see what this looks like. Binary, star frequency. Let's go make it so that it's a bit more uncommon, so we have less stars. Let's go with habitable planets being less common, so they're going to be more dramatic. But let's ramp up the extreme planets to abundant. So we're going to end up needing to get different sorts of tech to be able to then sort of work with those. Keep the resources where they are. Let's just see what this looks like. And I'll be then ramping up the difficulty to bright so that we end up with playing a little bit more aggressive AI. Everything else, maybe we end up changing things like the game pacing on normal, but maybe research down slow. Although it's going to make, yeah, that would actually be interesting. That would be interesting because that would then mean that the extreme planets would be something that would be a little bit more difficult to deal with. Particularly in mind if we're playing as a very, very sort of aggressive race. I'll keep all those things where they are for now. But if we just go and just click on in advanced settings, we can then change how we do things. I could disable tech brokering, for example. Or disable tech trading. Don't know. We'll think about that at the time. Anyway, what this does is it will then generate. It's got this is sort of like the defaults essentially that it's brought back in for this particular one. I'm thinking of playing with whatever the defaults are for this type of thing, or maybe we just add a couple more randoms in and really fill it up. So we end up with like no space in the galaxy whatsoever. And start the game. See what this one actually looks like. One thing I like about these sort of starts, in fact, there's another setting I could have changed in here. So so we've got this would be where we'd sort of be in this particular galaxy. So we can see there's a bit of a galaxy in through there. If I press the tilt key, I've got my cheats turned on. So I'm going to go FOW and then, sorry, not JOW, FOW and then NC for no contact. And that will then open up the whole galaxy for me to then have a bit of a look at. So in this case, we've got a tiny, this is actually fairly interesting. So we've got a group in through there. This is that is the Savot, which I'm not sure what that is. That may just be a minor. Got the Festoon Hunt back in through that side. This isn't bad, and there are still some colonizable worlds nearby, which are actually, which we can grab. We just don't have the extreme colonization. And on this other one, they've got that one there is. I don't know which group that actually is. That looks like another random. Actually, maybe they are. Maybe they're all of them. The Altarians, the the Skull, or the Fen. Oh, Memot Brotherhood. Okay, that's Memot Brotherhood. That's what I should have been doing. Cosmic Containment. Yeah, okay, that's a different one as well. Altarians backing through there. Festering Hunt making through this other side. Some of these newer ones I'm not all that familiar with. So the Zoloxy, the pirates. Okay, so that would be so that would give us a fairly interesting start. We wouldn't know where everything actually is, and we've got all these. There's enough planets in here to still be, like these would require extreme colonization, for example. But there'd be enough planets to be able to have fun. And actually, if I ramp these up, so we've got heaps of those to contend with as well. It would mean that we've got like pirates and all sorts of different creatures and things that we'd have to then sort of deal with to be able to sort of make our way through the actual game itself. I think this would lead to a much more aggressive style of gameplay. So I'm thinking of doing something like that. So that's if I just go back to the tilde key and just type that same thing in again, we then end up basically with the map re-hidden again. But that would give us, and I'll probably do an experiment when we do get the game, but this is, you can see there, we've got the two different areas. Now that we've sort of seen it, we can now sort of, we now are aware that there are other planets over there. But there's not very many star systems this way. And so it would mean that we'd need to try to sort of figure out what's going on essentially within the game itself. I think this could be a really fun way to actually play, and so that's what I'm thinking of doing for the actual launch, where we end up with something where we play as someone extremely aggressive, going up against and just trying to sort of dominate a very small galaxy. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. I'll be sort of really interested to see if people have got a different perspective, different ideas, and see where we go from there. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'm going to end this series here. I hope you enjoyed it, and can't wait to play the launch version.